Why are men in the dating pool trash?
Ooh.
Let's talk about that.
We got to go back to manifestation on this one.
Yeah. Well, before we answer that, for those listening on the podcast, we are also streaming live on TikTok today, and who knows, we might get some inspiration from our TikTok fam, and that may guide our conversation a little bit. But we have some key things we definitely want to talk about. But yeah, that was the question: why are men in the dating pool trash?
Okay, so first and foremost, would you be open to trying something on as far as a new frame to step into? And the reason I ask is because I used to have some hilarious stories around dating as well. And those stories would continuously perpetuate, and I would continuously have validation that those stories were real. And then when I stopped telling myself those stories, it was wild what started to happen. And when I started to actually consciously manifest and create the things that I wanted in a relationship, it almost started showing up so fast that there were actually multiple situations that I couldn't decide on at one point. It was just like, this is insane. So I will say, let's try something new on first and foremost. So the new story is, I don't know where all these guys are coming from, but these guys are out of control, amazing, and they're everywhere. I am so grateful that everywhere I go and everything that I do with my friends, I end up running into and meeting the dopest humans ever to potentially date one day. I am so grateful that every single human that hits me up on a dating app is dope AF. I am so happy and grateful. I could go on and on and on, but we got to, first and foremost, the foundation's got to shift a little bit, and we got to move that into a different direction. I don't know what screen to stare. I feel like I'm talking to this person, but then I'm over here. So
yeah, we're all over the place.
There's
so many
all
screens.
the things. So if you know, I'm talking to this angle for a reason, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching from here, because I feel like I have to talk to my sister right now that just said this. And girl, I'm feeling you so hard because I've been there and I have had the same exact emotion around it. And I was ready to yeah. So yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's such a common storyline in dating culture today. It's where are all the good guys at? Why are all the dudes, trash? We are continuing to perpetuate and create more of that unconsciously in our lives by just telling that story. So I think, yeah, for us, we get to tell a new story about the types of people we're attracting into our lives. And that's the invitation for us.
Yeah.
Is to get pretty clear about what we're looking for. I think that's the theme of this conversation. We want to kind of talk through that process and what's involved, because it's not just woo woo, let's hope for the best. Hope we find this person or this opportunity or job or house. There's a process, there's a system to it. And Jess is the queen of teaching this in a methodical way that makes sense and is digestible.
So I would say the first step to that equation is, one, becoming aware of the story. Two, it's creating a new story. But for the actual manifestation and creation part of it, there's a really big factor that I really want to kind of highlight to start it. It's, who do I need to be to have that show up? And so I'm going to talk to you about manifesting and creating this human for sure. But I also want the frame to come from, who do I need to be? We always put it on everybody else has to be these things, but we don't take responsibility for showing up in our highest light too. And then if we're in our highest light, what do you think we're going to do? Attract and manifest the people that are also in their highest light, that are in that space. So first and foremost, I would love to rewrite this story with you here and now. I'm so excited for you because you are going to have the coolest shit happen so quickly, my friend. You have no idea how fast things start to unfold as soon as you shift that story. And you're aware. So story's there. We're going to eliminate it. Now we're going to rewrite it. Now I want you to take out a notepad and pen or your note section of your phone or something and just start writing all the beautiful attributes that you would love to have in this human that you're manifesting, male, female, whatever that looks like. Write down all the attributes. I want you to get specific. If you're excited about somebody that's tall, if you want somebody that has a beautiful smile, if you want somebody that's kind, if you want somebody that actually, I will read you my list, you guys. I have a freaking list. I've had this running list that has been going for probably 5 to 7 years now, and it's called My Man. So I want you guys to see how much I have written down. Like when I tell you I have this much written down, it is out of control. And I'm not going to read all of these, but I'm going to start and give you guys some examples. These are the attributes: patient, grounding, loving, funny, playful, kind, loyal, honest, unspoken language between us, deep connection, tall and muscular, has swag. 8, lighthearted, loves living in the green zone, super driven and established a level of success in business, protector energy, great communicator, unbreakable bond between us, great listener, music is the same vibe, appreciates music in a meaningful way.
Music is a love language.
Music's a love language. Yeah. Eyes and smile. Like I'm an eyes and smile girl. I wrote down, quote unquote, is a vibe. Is a vibe. Like
he is a vibe.
He's just a vibe. Yeah. Has his own style, can dress, incredibly supportive of everything I do. We love supporting each other in all things that light us up, can be thrown into any situation, makes me laugh harder than anyone, desires a family and family is number one. I feel at home with his family and he feels at home with mine, appreciates nature and what it does for my spirit, loves to travel and explore, takes initiative, bougie yet humble and grounded, loves to give back, huge heart for others, enjoys music festivals, loves dogs so much, ability to work from anywhere, inspires me daily in life and business, can follow me in deep conversation and takes it even deeper, loves me and sees me for who I am to my core, insanely attracted to each other, teaches me smart investments, loves fitness and health and wellness, eats super clean and for gut health, cares about anti-aging, straw jawline, inspires me to feel and look my best. He's an old soul, meditate and go to personal development events together. I mean, I might as well just finish this shit. Always expanding and growing, makes me feel small when I'm in his arms, loves to spend quality time and expresses how he feels, turns me on a whole different level, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I turn him on in always more than he has ever experienced. We are proud to be with each other and show each other off. I look at him and smile and say to myself, that's my human. We feel so free together, monogamous, but by choice because of being so fully satisfied. Trust that is unbreakable. We just know. My best friend, my life partner, amazing father and husband, takes time to get to know the people closest to me, gets along with everyone easily and effortlessly, non-judgmental, curious, laid back, goes with the flow, knows what he wants and goes for it, flexible with time, schedule, and location, huge dreamer, creator, integrity is everything, lives law of attraction, amazing communication with each other, spiritually evolved. I learned so much from him. Can't imagine my life without him. He's just a good human, loves planning things and surprising me in a meaningful way, even though I suck at surprises, leaves little notes for me, is 3 steps ahead of making my life easier, thoughtful, loves taking care of himself, mind, body, and soul, loves to make me smile and laugh, makes me laugh so much and is super playful, deep intimacy together, best sex I've ever had, explore each other's bodies in fun new ways, loves the finer things yet doesn't need them. We take turns being student and teacher. He's my escape from reality. He just makes life better. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm manifesting in a man. And I feel so when I'm with him. This is next step. So you got your attributes, right? This is a 5-year building of a list, though. Please start somewhere.
Talk about being specific.
Yeah.
Like be specific with your ask and what you're wanting.
So this is the thing. Like I would go on dates and I would come back and they wouldn't have, certain elements. And I feel like what we do in the dating world is we go out and we're on this date and we come home and we're like, oh, this isn't it. And we're like, oh, there's nobody out there.
But he likes us.
So
but he likes us. So maybe I like him, even though I know it's not the one, but I like that he likes me.
Rule. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yes.
Rule. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Right. So if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And if it's not a hell yes, next steps are taking all of the beautiful things that were a hell yes about that human and writing them down.
Yeah.
And then all the things that were like, nah, that's not it. Flip them. Oh, you didn't like that he was this. Okay, cool. Flip it. What would you like instead?
I hate that he's always late. I want a man that's on time.
Yes. So write that down. Not, I don't want a man that's always late. I want a man that's always on time. Now that would not be on my list because I'm not on time ever. So a man that will keep me on time, maybe. So for me, the biggest thing that I did to clean up my vibe, because like you guys, I was like carrying around a bunch of old like energy from old things that didn't work out. Like when something doesn't work, and then you stare at what didn't work, what do you think you're going to perpetuate more of? More of things that don't work. Like you have to take it and focus. You had the contrast. Now you have the clay to create with, because you have the clarity.
Mm-hmm.
So the contrast, what you don't want is giving you clarity of what you do want. What you do want is what you take and focus on. And then when you take that and focus on it, then you're going to start sending out those radio signals. And when your signal's strong enough, the human's going to show up in your experience, whether you like it or not. And if it's not all the way there, that means that your vibe isn't fully cleaned up. So if you get like I got like the 5 out of 5 on my list, I'm like, okay, so, or no, excuse me, a 5 out of a 10 on my list, instead of a 5 out of a 5, you're like, or a 10 out of 10. Oh my gosh, stop confusing myself over here with math. Okay. So no, but it's seriously, let's go back to this. If you don't fully get exactly what you're excited about, then you need to go keep cleaning your vibe up a little bit more. You'll start noticing that the people that show up in your path are so close to that list that it almost is scary. You're like, I've read that list over the last few years of my life of what I've started to manifest and who I started to pull in. And it was insane. And okay, so.
Well, I was just going to say what's beautiful about that though, and reading over that entire list, I was getting hype. I was like, yeah, yes. I was like, I felt the feeling of meeting that person as you're reading it. I'm like, it's like when you listen to a song that gets you hype and gets you excited and gets you in the mood and gets you in the vibe. You're like, just reading that over and over. I was like, yeah. Like that dude sounds amazing.
Chaz is like, hell yeah. Yeah. We're manifesting over here, buddy. I know.
But then the other beautiful thing about that is when you look over that list, that means that you've met people in your life that all gave you reference points for that entire list.
Amen.
So it is a collection of everyone you've gotten to come in contact with, you've gone on a date with, you've spent time with in any capacity. And that the context for what you now have experienced over all of that time, you're like, oh, I know exactly what you're looking for. Because sometimes you don't know what you want until you know what you don't want.
Yeah.
And now it's like, even if some of those situations were don't want situations, it showed you more of what you wanted.
100%. And you can get reference points from friends. You can get reference points from watching the way that your parents were, or they weren't, right. You know, you can see all of this you get to build like this beautiful life for yourself. And that includes being, you know, really intentional about the people that you're surrounded by. And if that's a close relationship or a close friendship or a close, you know, if there's a certain work environment that you're excited about having, if you're a certain home that you're excited about manifesting, like this works for all of that.
Okay. What do you say to people? Cause I'm seeing this in the chat.
Yeah.
That's so unrealistic.
What is?
Having everything that you want. You're never going to find somebody that has all the things that you want or the perfect house. Like, what do you say to people who are like, be realistic?
Okay. So I'm going to go to the next step of this, and that's going to answer this.
Okay.
So yes, first and foremost, you're never going to have 100% across the board, but guess what? It's because you're always going to keep growing and changing and wanting more. You're never going to, that's why this list has grown to this length in 5 years. Do you think it started like this? No, it started with like 5 or 10 things. And that evolution has continued. We're never going to get it done. We're never going to get it right. You're never going to be fully satisfied for the rest of your time on this freaking earth with what you create right this very second. Because guess what? You're going to date someone and then they're going to do a bunch of things that you're going to be like, well, damn, I didn't realize I need these new reference points to now know what I want even more. So I'm not saying that this is like build a man and you're going to like, you know, run off happily ever after for the rest of your life. Ideally, you've got some core values that are really, really solid and meaningful to you, some non-negotiables, and those are what you stand in. And then you get to play with all the other things and you get to have fun with all the other things. The most important part for me is how I feel in this. So there's beautiful attributes that I can go through, cast my net out there, right? Yeah. But the next step to this, it's intention plus elevated emotion. So that's what's creating that radio signal that's out there, that's pulling this into your experience. So this, you know, whether this be a house that you're manifesting or a man that you're manifesting or whatever that looks like, it literally comes down to like, what are the things that I love and desire and want? Next, I feel so wonderful waking up in this home. I feel so wonderful, you know, coming home from the gym and getting to sit on my patio and drink a protein shake. I feel so wonderful. Like how do you feel? I feel so incredible and inspired waking up in this home. Like that's if you're doing a home, if it's a career, if it's a man, you literally apply this to anything. I feel so loved. So I'll read this. I feel so free. I feel so supported. I feel so adored. I feel so loved. I feel so myself. I feel so safe, connected, attracted, sexy, feminine, open, seen, understood, playful, trusted, beautiful, happy, secure, grateful, stimulated, inspired, appreciated, taken care of, on the same page, sexually turned on, excited to choose him over and over and over, excited to travel the world and explore, and one day have a family. So I feel so, all of these things that I'm feeling, this is what's strengthening this radio signal that's going out there and pulling all of these beautiful things in, right? So all the attributes, those are fun to play with. You get to pick those things. Why would I go buy a house of attributes that I don't want? So it's the same thing. Like, why would I go? So having those attributes, I used to be like, oh, that's so superficial or whatever. No, we all have preferences on this earth. What you like and what I like is probably very different, and that's okay. And we all have some, I believe we have a lot of different soulmates on this earth. It's who we choose to continue to evolve that relationship with. And I've met females that I feel like I've had like deep soul connections with, that I, just as strong as like a male. And I've always really identified with, always being attracted to men, but it's crazy. Those soul connections are real. So there's going to be people that cross your path that probably have made you feel these different reference points, so that when you have that show up in your experience, what that looks like, what that feels like, what that is. And then the last part of the equation is, who do I need to be?
Before we get into that, I just wanted to say, like, everything that we want in our lives, like, I've had to realize this, like, everything I want it not because I want the thing itself as much as I want the feeling I think it's going to give me. Like when you're 18, you want to be 21. When you're, we're always on to the next thing. When you're single, you want to be married. When you're in an apartment, I want a big house. I want to buy my first car. You want the promotion. Why?
To feel good.
Because you want to feel good. You think there's going to be a feeling of, I'm accepted, I'm enough, I'm secure, I'm all the things she just listed. I feel sexy, I feel safe, I feel loved. Because we think, if I get that, then I'll feel this way. And part of it, I think, is just generating the feeling yourself without expecting something to fulfill you. But it's like, you're saying, I want to feel these ways, and I'm claiming that now. Like, I don't have to wait on it. I'm actually can experience it now too.
Well, if you want to pull it into your sphere quicker, then feel those things now. It's not about feeling those things when you have that. It's about feeling those things now. Like, and the whole purpose of this game of intention plus elevated emotion, the whole purpose of this whole manifesting process in general is to actually magnetize yourself to the right people, situations, and circumstances that you can experience those things with constantly, but you can't wait. They say it so much, you guys, like, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy if, I'll be, you have to be that now, and then those things will show up. It's the same exact thing. And it's not, we hear it so much that I almost feel like we get desensitized to it, but it's probably the most profound and magical and meaningful thing if you ever took that and ran with it. In any area of life, like, feel the feelings and emotions now. It's literally sending out a freaking broadcast, and it's coming back. It's sending out a signal, and that's broadcasting out, and it's pulling it back in. We're all these little planets, bouncing around this earth, somehow spinning around in space, being held on by gravity. And we've got these little auras, these gravitational forces, magnetic forces and these, my planet's over here and I'm like, oh, I'm the same vibe as Tori. And then Tori comes into my sphere, and then, we're all playing together on our on this, crazy little thing called Earth. And it's insane. It is absolutely insane when you start to become intentional about certain things, tell stories that, have you ever noticed the people in your life that have created and manifest? Go look up any celebrity, and then put law of attraction behind it. I think you can probably find like the most ridiculous videos. Pitbull has some. I know there's some really, really, really good ones out there. And when you hear the way, and have these conversations with some of my most successful friends about the level of intention that they had around what they were creating, but the expectancy that was so strong behind it. There wasn't a doubt in their mind that they could experience this. And so because there wasn't a doubt in their mind, they ended up experiencing that, whether it's, right then and there, we all want it now. And we're not the person that can actually attract it now. There's work that we need to do, or there is a story we need to shift. There's an internal cause, external effect. If you're not satisfied with what's going on in your external world right now, then you need to do an internal audit. When you do that internal audit, you'll be able to find those different stories or those limiting beliefs or those different things. And sometimes they're so unconscious and we don't even realize that that's what's creating and perpetuating certain results in our life. But if you can really get real with yourself and look in the mirror, and this is something that I have to consistently do daily. If I'm not satisfied with something in my life, I have to figure out where internally I am somehow creating that and perpetuating that more and more and more for it to continuously show up. Or I'm just unconsciously creating, and I can also take responsibility for that. And I just haven't set intentions on what I actually do want to create. And when I don't set those intentions, then when, universe, God, whatever you believe in shows up and says, here you go. I can't be mad that I didn't intentionally create anything else.
Nope.
I didn't stop.
I was going with the flow.
Yeah.
Just whatever came into my experience was just like, I'll just take it's like going to a restaurant and just taking whatever served and never asking for anything specific. And then you're upset that you didn't get what you wanted. But if they're like, you didn't order anything.
It's that, or you go to the restaurant and you're like, I want a salad. And then she comes back and you're like, oh, no. But I actually changed my mind. I want chicken sandwich. And then she comes back and she's like, oh, no. And we do that shit way too much in our lives, where we're literally sending out a signal, and then we're not putting any more energy behind it. We're sending out another signal, and then another signal, and another signal. Yeah. And we're like, why aren't we having any results in our lives? Because you've literally have these neutralizing signals that are going out constantly, and it's not allowing for anything to line up. Split energy is the most insane thing. Like when we don't have our energy lined up in one direction, moving towards something, and it's split, we're like over here. It's like one foot on the dock, one in the boat.
You can't make progress.
No. And we're stuck, and we feel stuck. And that stuck feeling is the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah. I think one of like the biggest affirmations or stories I had to adopt when I was really getting clear about what I want and what I want to create is I am supported. I'm supported, because I think so often we think it's just we're out here alone and having to hustle and grind. And if it's, if you don't do it, like somebody else will. And we think we're unsupported. And I think that's why we sort of live with a low level of anxiety in our life all the time, because we all have this fear that I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be okay. So it's like adopting that story, I am supported. I can put out and intend for something. And there are not just people, but forces, energies that are conspiring for our good. And we can rest in that. We can trust in that when it feels like we need to grip and control and figure it out. Right. And I love what Peter Crone says, who's one of my favorite teachers. He always talks about, the difference between striving and creating and wanting to consciously create something new, have something more, bigger, better, different, whatever. And also contentment, being okay with what you have, being in acceptance of where you are. So what he says is, I'm totally committed to becoming the best version of me, to evolving, to creating this thing. And I'm fully committed and totally unattached.
Yes. Positively expectant, completely detached.
Yeah, totally unattached. So I am confident that I'm supported and that this is coming, and I'm committed to seeing that through. And I'm unattached to the who, what, when, where, how, the how it gets created or how it comes into my experience. And that is, I think, where so many people get tripped up, because we're not detached. We're super attached to how we think it's going to happen.
Oh, the attachment, man. That is the number one thing. If you really look at any time in your life where you're not happy with anything or everything, you look around, you're like, I'm not satisfied with that. It's because you're attached to something else. That you're like, oh, but I should be here, or I should have that, or this shouldn't be this way, or they shouldn't act this way. And if you were unattached with the outcome, like it's crazy how it just releases every ounce of resistance. It's insane. The law of detachment it's a real one.
Well, and another word for that is just acceptance.
Mhm.
Like I just accept it. Because acceptance is not like just folding.
Yes.
And just being like, okay, well, I just accept this is it, how it is. It's like, no, I accept things as they are, meaning I don't need to force them to be other than they are in this moment, but I can also hold the intention and the awareness for a new experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like this goes into, well, the last piece of that is, who do I need to be? And if I want to receive that type of level of love and experience those beautiful attributes that I mentioned, then I also have to show up and be that. I can't expect somebody to show up, make me happy, be all the things, and I'm just like chilling.
Right.
You know
I
what I mean?
ask this myself and the people, in my lives, this question, my clients, my friends. It's like, if we're going to talk about, because the way we started this conversation was talking about guys and dating, right? So take dating as an example. Ask yourself the question, would you date you? Are you the type of person that the person you're looking for is looking for? Are you the person?
Same for the people in the back.
Are you the person that the person you're looking for is looking for? Because we can't ask people to do things we're unwilling to do ourselves. So if you're asking your spouse, your partner, the person that you're dating to change or be different, be better, be all the things on your list, you better be all the things on your list. You
Amen.
should be that reflection. And when you become the reflection, the thing's going to show up in your experience.
Because we're all just beautiful mirrors for one another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when you start to play in the game all out, like you start to attract people that are playing in the game all out.
And that can be a humbling place to be when you look around your life and you're like, all of these people in my life are mirroring back to me myself. And a lot of times we like to judge everybody else, think they need to like live up to our standards. No, we need to live up to our own standards. You know what I mean? And it's like we go through life so worried and like, oh, are they enough? Are they going to like reach this bar? Are they going to meet my standards? We need to raise our standards of ourselves, I think, too. Like, are we doing what we say we're going to do? Are we a person of integrity? Are we living a healthy lifestyle? Are we, because the people in your life that aren't are triggering you and like getting on your nerves, because what they're really doing is you're projecting, you're seeing the thing that you're seeing in them is also something in you, which is the kicker, because it's like, what are the people that I have attracted and manifested in my life reflecting back to me? And maybe if it's not a good thing, it may mean I need to like outgrow, like, because when you do start to grow, the people in your lives will inevitably filter out and new people will come in that
or step up,
are in alignment with that new vibration.
100%. And I think to like add to that is we as humans, we need to go on a very beautiful self-discovery journey. And that's a never ending, ever evolving, always continuous journey. And we really can't be met by another individual in a place that we haven't really met ourselves. And we have to take responsibility for going to those places and shining the light in the dark and kind of seeing what's there and seeing, taking full responsibility for all of the different potential stories that we have that are living, or past experiences that have created a little bit of, whether it's some fear or some PTSD around some things or whatever that looks like we got to like own all that stuff. And then when it will rear its ugly head at times too. And you still in those moments responding versus reacting and being able to keep a level of respect with an individual that allows for your growth together to be something beautiful versus something that is confrontational, or, there's so many elements to that. I'm no, relationship coach by any means, but I will say that since cleaning up my vibration, I have attracted men into my experience that I am so incredibly grateful for. And every single last human that I've dated and the one that I've created and manifested in my now moment is I've probably added more things to my list of attributes that I love. And he has already checked all the boxes. And then I've added like 20 new reference points that I didn't even realize that I wanted. And I, again, not going to put it in a box, not going to say this is that or whatever. Like, I'm taking these moments and cherishing them for what they are, and knowing that I created this situation, and I'm so grateful. But it also is, it's this game of detachment too, because as humans, we want to like own and control and know and have all the details of all the unfolding, and it comes up in me, and then it also is the most beautiful opportunity for me to actually really practice all of these things that I'm sharing with you guys, because of course, like, you know, it's easy to say, like, I really man, I feel like we're going to go down a road right now. I almost like want to tab this, because I know we have to end this soon. I want to tab this, come back. We're going to do a part two. We're going to do a part two of that. We're going to tab that. And then we're going to finish what you need to do to make sure that you're in the space to actually see and receive this human or job or car or thing that you were creating and manifesting. And it goes back to our emotional state. And our emotional state is the number one thing that is going to dictate our perception of our reality. So if we know that our emotional state is going to dictate our perception of our reality. So if you are in a high vibe state, you see possibility. If you're in a low vibe state, trust me, you don't see anything. You don't even have access to logic. It's wild how it's almost like you're in this dark hole and you can't get out, and you're stuck, and you turn to all these things and you want all the answers, and but you can't get there from here.
Because
like
when you're stressed, your brain literally starts to like your prefrontal cortex, all of your survival strategies like come out, and because it thinks you're under attack. So when you're in a fear response, when you're stressed, when you're anxious, like your body thinks it's actually under attack. So you don't have all the resources available to you to see everything, because literally primally you have to go into fight, flight, or freeze. And typically when you're running, it's like, okay, I need all of the energy in my system, all the adrenaline to get away from this threat. The thing is, we're not under threat, but we live in low vibrational states that inhibit our ability to access all of our conscious awareness, to be able to see life from a much wider lens instead of such a zoomed in focus.
Oh, so good. So freaking good. So freaking good. My alarm's going to go off in a second. Make sure it stops. So to piggyback on this, I created this chart, and the top of the chart is green, and it's all the high vibe emotions. The middle of the chart is yellow, and it's all of the kind of middle vibe emotions. The bottom is all the lower vibe emotions, and it's red. And so green means go. Like when you get into the green zone, like it is go time. You ask yourself important questions. You go out and you get in the green, then go talk to your spouse. Get in the green, then go do your business. Get in the green, then go walk out of the door to Target. Get in the green first, because you are going to have a return to sender on your energy at all times with people, situations, and circumstances that are on that same wavelength. And you're going to attract more things into your experience that are on that same vibration. So if you know that, I would just say, like, challenge you to go get in the green more of the time. So those higher vibe emotions of love and excitement and peace. And honestly, you guys, you don't even have to be like, when you think high vibe, you always think this like jump up and down, so excited. That's not it. It's just at peace.
Yeah.
It's at ease. You're not moving. You're, like we said, you're moving through the world with this level of positive expectancy, but complete detachment. So you can walk out of the door knowing that this game of life that we're playing, you have so much control in that game. You have so much. And the first thing that you can control is your emotional state, because that return to sender is a real thing. So your emotional state is first things first. So
it's the antenna that is on your radio that's picking up signals. Mm-hmm. That is what your emotional state does. It's like it's going out on an FM radio and it's getting set to a certain frequency, a certain station. So if you're tuned to a country station, you're not going to hear rap music.
True.
And it's like, you're not going to go to the Mexican restaurant and get Chinese food.
Yeah.
So true. That's like, if our if we're in the red and low vibe, in depression, we're in anxiety, we're stressed, we're feeling hopeless, we're literally tuning into a station of all of that. That's all we're going to hear is more negative news. Oh, more bad news. Oh, no wonder. I can't believe that happened. Oh, here's a bill. Oh, the guy, he's not talking to me anymore. It's like, you're just going to get one after another, after another, after another.
When it rains, it pours. That saying was created by someone in the red zone. But guess what? It can also rain and pour in the green zone. And that's when life gets fun. So when you're, and I want to like quickly go through this, like green, go. Yellow, slow down and observe. When you're in the yellow, it's typically like, okay, something good happens and you're happy, and something bad happens and you're sad, because you're in this place where you can kind of go either way. You're not 100% stable emotionally. Like when you're in the yellow, it's not a bad place. It's just, you're probably bored, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
I do. It's very old and outdated, but I will give you a visual. Yeah. So the bottom of the chart is red, and the red is like a space that you don't have access. And if you know that, then having that conversation with your kid, having the conversation with your spouse, having the conversation with your boss, having the conversation, asking yourself the question, what should I do next in this situation that I have so much angst about? You're not going to get the answer that you actually want. You're not going to get the feedback that you're excited about getting. So just don't go there. Go get into a better space, then have those conversations, then ask yourself those meaningful questions. So first and foremost, I just want to say that red is not a bad place to be. Red is actually one of the most beautiful places in life. If you don't know darkness, how do you know light? If you don't know sadness, how do you know happiness? If you don't know all of the things that you did not like about something, how do you know what you want to create? So it's the contrast is there to serve us. The duality of life is the most beautiful thing. You can't have one without the other. It's all there to serve. So when you're in the red, the whole point is not to get out of the red. It's to just become aware that you're there. And when you're aware of that and you have a return to sender on your energy, you probably don't want to stay there for too long, but you also don't want to beat yourself up for being there. That's where you ask for the clarity. Why am I here? What can I learn? How can I grow? What is this teaching me? What is this showing me? So if you're coming out of a bad, relationship, we were just talking about relationships, you're coming out of a bad relationship and you got a slew of all the things that you didn't like, and you're in the red zone about it because you're focusing so much on that. Our focus is dictating that emotion. And our focus, right after we focus on something, we're giving it a meaning, and then it's creating an emotion, and then we're now perpetuating more of that emotion. So if you know that you're focusing in on that bad relationship you just came out of, instead of saying, okay, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about more of what I want. I learned so much about what it is that I'm now creating in this next situation. I've learned like 50 new reference points of what I want to create that I didn't even know that I wanted if I didn't have this experience. So it's taking that contrast, and then it's taking that and using that as the clarity that it is. That's the clay, right? The clay of life that we get to go create with is from that contrasting place. If it was just all puppy dogs, roses, and rainbows every single day, it wouldn't be that exciting because we wouldn't have anything to compare it to. The contrast is so exciting, you guys. So, but you don't obviously want to stay in the red zone a long period of time because you, again, don't have access and you're attracting things that you're not excited about.
I was just going to say that I think one of the key pieces of this is judging the fact that you're in the red zone.
Yeah.
Because where your attention goes, energy flows, right? And as soon as you bring in judgment and you make it wrong, then you're not in acceptance.
Yeah.
You're in the opposite of acceptance. You're saying, I shouldn't be here. This is wrong. I shouldn't feel this way. This sucks, but I feel this way. And it's like a self-perpetuating cycle.
Yeah.
So it's, just accepting and knowing that, like, if you're feeling down, it's not the worst thing. It's when you feel down about feeling down. And then it's like, okay, it's actually purposeful. There's something that I'm being shown in this.
Yeah, 100%. And you guys, I'm just going to be real. When you're in red, we are human. Can
I just say, it's really, really nice to have friends that can help pull you out of the red zone, because when I get so focused on the thing that's causing me pain, and I get so focused on the thing that's upsetting me, I'm zoomed in, and she's like, Tori, like, remember all of this possibility, all of the, like, that is such a important piece, is like having other people in your life that can help like give you that perspective, because when you're in it, sometimes you don't realize how long you've been caught in that place.
Yeah, no, I would say sometimes I'll like sit in my notes section of my phone and just like talk to myself if I don't have friends around, and that I'll just like dump how I feel, and then I can actually process it differently because I'm reading it and not saying it out if I don't have somebody to process it with. But it's just a simple zoom out. It's going more general. It's shifting your focus from what you're focusing on that's not creating this good feeling energy, and focusing it on anything else long enough for it to subside, dissolve, and then you can go back to the equation and look at it differently. Because when we're in the red and we're staring at something, we're kind of like, well, we're perpetuating more of it, but because we're just beating the drum, we're not able to hear this new song or see it in any other way. So if you take your focus, and even if it's just like, okay, I'm time out, I'm going to the gym, or I'm going to shift, and you got to know how you change states. Like I personally, going to the gym, listening to music, calling a friend, just taking a walk in nature, changing my current environment that I'm in, jumping up and down. Like you got to figure out what your green zone list is of the way that you change your state, because that's your responsibility. And even when you don't feel like doing it, you're the one that's perpetuating it if you don't make a change in that. And that's harsh. And I know that that's like, but it's real, you guys. Like I don't feel like getting out of the red zone when I'm in the red zone. When I'm in there, I want to like, just like cry.
You could call it a pattern interrupt. That's what it is. It's like, that's why when you're in therapy, couples therapy, they say, okay, when you get in a fight or you're having conflict, that's why you might want to take a time out and then come back together and resolve. So the timeout is the pause. It's the ability to, deep down regulate, think about how you want to like move forward. Right. Because it's like, when you're in it, you're so deeply there. And it's that pattern interrupt. For me, it's like breath work, definitely being in nature, going on a walk, drinking a glass of water, screaming into a pillow, something that moves energy in my body. And the 3 ways we move energy is sound, movement, and the sound and movement. So it's like, and breath, sound, movement, and breath. If you want to move energy, that's why having sex moves energy, right? Birthing something new, you have to have breath, sound, and movement. Okay. Go have sex, go on a run, go work out, go sweat, go breathe deeply, go change your state, go get in a cold shower, like anything that's going to interrupt that thing that you were so focused on.
And you're probably not going to feel like doing any of that in the moment, just so you know. So it's like it's a practice, and it's almost like, okay, I can sit here in this. Now that I've gotten this clarity, I can keep sitting in this, or I can do something about it. And I'm not here to say that it's not like, I think the biggest thing when I'm in that space, I don't want anybody else telling me what to do, or telling me like, oh, I can change this, or I can like when I'm in that spot, like nobody can say anything to me. So I'm not here to like be puppy dogs, roses, and rainbows, that this is how you need to go live your life.
Right.
If you want to sit in it, sit in it. I'm telling you the consequences. The consequences are, you're probably not going to have access to possibility. You're probably not going to manifest the things that you're most excited about. And all we want, like she said, is to feel good. If all we want, if in the having of the relationship, if in the having of the career, if in the having of these things, we just want to feel good, then I'm giving you a couple of things that might help with that equation to feel a little bit better. And then to ideally practice that way of being to the point where it's a standard. And when it's a standard, then when you dip down, you've already figured out how to get back up, because you trust yourself. You know that you don't have access. Like I wasn't always this happy-go-lucky human 24/7 until I started understanding like what it was like to actually live in this space and have access to creating. We were talking about being realistic earlier. I lived a realistic life And then I realized I didn't have to. And then when I started realizing that I could create anything that I want, even though it's, most people would be like, oh, that's crazy, or that's not going to happen, or that's not realistic. I was like, okay, cool. Well, that's their story and that's their life. This is mine. And I'm going to choose this path, this story. And when I started actually creating a standard around my energy, I really and truly started seeing my entire world change. Like I practiced being in the green zone. And then when I was in the red, I didn't make myself wrong for it. I still stumble every now and then. I am human, you guys. I am not perfect. I'm 100% just sharing my personal perspective and experience. And my personal perspective and experience has shown me that if I can stay in the green zone a good chunk of my time, then I'm manifesting and creating 1,000 times faster. I have access to possibility. I'm attracting people, situations, and circumstances that are on the same wavelength. Everything that I want, that I start to put energy towards, it shows up, and I don't have to question it, because it shows up in the most ridiculous ways that I could never have imagined in my head. That's why the trust element of the who, what, when, where, why, how is not my job. It's for me to know that all of that's working itself out. If I stay in the right energy, if I have the right intention, if I'm putting out those signals, if I'm making sure that I'm intentional with the action that I'm taking and the energy that I'm putting out and the choices that I'm making, like if all of those are in alignment, then I am literally creating the life of my dreams. Now, if I start to fall off, because we're human, again, we're not going to be perfect at this. If I start to fall off, I see the shifts in what's not showing up. I see the shifts of, wow, you got to get back on the horse, or you're not being as intentional, or I'm starting to unconsciously have shit happen that I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. And I'm like, oh, well, you didn't really sign up for anything else. So if your energy is not focused
to default,
programming, default mode, I'm starting to attract this stuff that I'm not that excited about. Okay. That means I need to go back in intentionality mode. So I have to pass the mic to you and walk out of the door. So I don't have into this beautiful conversation because I don't want to. I have to be somewhere in 4 minutes.
I love it. Well, I do think we need to come back for part 2.
Agreed.
So this is an ongoing conversation. But I think the big things to wrap this up tonight before we give you part 2 is, 1, prioritize feeling good. That was one of the big things. Prioritize feeling good. So like you put your intention out there, and then instead of focusing on the who, what, when, where, why, go focus on feeling good. Like doing something that makes you feel excited, and forget about it. And then you'll see what pops up in your experience. And then go
back to it too. Like go do anything else, anything else. And then go back to what was causing angst or resistance. And you're going to literally see a different perspective. Like you're going to be zoomed out. So you see the whole entire situation differently.
Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's what we're offering, is a way to do that. To take pause, to notice you're not creating what you want, pause, pattern interrupt, get into the green zone. And then the things, when you go back, you're going to see it differently. You're going to have a whole new perspective. And the last thing is, being realistic is one of the worst pieces of advice you could ever have be given. Don't be realistic.
No.
Because the people who've achieved incredible successes in their lives, who are responsible for innovating and like building the best technologies and like all of that, they were people that believed in their unrealistic dream when no one else did. So if you take nothing else, don't be realistic with how you want, like what you want your life to look like, because unless you want it to look like everybody else's, and you want that average, median, mediocre, lukewarm life, there's nothing wrong with that. But recognize, don't just sign up for that by default. If you're going to choose it consciously, not just because you got it because you didn't have any intention in your life.
Everything I've ever gone and created in my life that was big and meaningful, the money, I've lived all over the world. I've traveled everywhere. Like I've had so many crazy experiences, and every single human being in my life told me at the beginning of every single one of those ventures that I was crazy, that none of that was actually going to happen. There's no way that I could go build that for myself. There's no way that I could live that life. That's so unrealistic. Every single person in my life that I cared about told me that. And all of the things that I created yeah, I had to use that as fuel. So I would just say, don't try that on in any way, shape or form. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool. I love you guys.
Love you. I think we just took up the 4 minutes you needed to get to the gym. So thank you for tuning in.
Changing my state.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Coachable Podcast. I love you. Thank you for coming back every week. If you are loving these episodes, you're loving Jess's energy, let us know and send us a rating and a review. We will give you free access to the Find Your Purpose workshop if you send us a screenshot of your rating and your review to support@torigordon.com. We love you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being coachable. Come back next week for part 2.